Welcome on into Fox Soul's Black Report, your space for black news, black views, and black opinions. Today is Friday, TGIF. Thanks for wrapping up your week with us. I'm Seth Lemon.
I'm Mimi Brown.
I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, after intense scrutiny, Judge Ketanji Brown-Jackson will likely be confirmed to the Supreme Court. So why do Republican leaders say, after their intense interrogation, that they will not support her nomination? Meanwhile, text messages from Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas's wife on January 6th show that she pressured the White House to overturn the election. Now, will Clarence Thomas have to testify before the investigative committee? Then, New Orleans is known for jazz, so why was playing the African-American genre of music, why was it forbidden in the city's public schools until today?
Plus, Jay-Z is planning a big Oscar after party with his wife this weekend, but if the event goes as planned, it could put Jay and Bey on the wrong side of a worker strike picket line. We'll explain why. And it's Friday, so we all just need a little laugh. Comedian Eric Blake joins us to chop it up about this week's Hot Topics.
We have all that and so much more. This is our voice and our truth, so let's get it.
After more than 30 hours of hearings, the Senate appears on track to confirm Judge Ketanji Brown-Jackson as the first black woman ever to sit on the Supreme Court. But Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says he will vote against the groundbreaking nominee, saying that he cannot and will not support her nomination for a lifetime appointment, calling her the court packer's pick who testified like it. McConnell's opposition, it's not a surprise, but his declaration means that many fellow Republicans are going to follow in lockstep. He opposed her confirmation to the D.C. Circuit Court last year, so it's not a change for him. But meantime, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin announced today he does plan to confirm Judge Jackson as the Democrat unites with the rest of the party for the historic confirmation. And now they are able to confirm her without any GOP support. It's 50-50. Vice President Harris, she holds the tie-breaking vote. The Judiciary Committee is expected to advance her nomination to the Senate April 4th, hoping to get a final vote 2 Fridays from today before they go on a two-week recess. So they're hoping to get this through before they go on break, which is good. They're trying to make some things happen before, and in terms of the speed, we really should not hear too many complaints from Republicans, because we've seen in recent memory, actually, some Supreme Court confirmations that happened at lightning speed.
You know, I wanted to look at some of the other GOP swing voters and senators and kind of see which way they were going to vote. I mean, the thing I can say about Mitch McConnell is at least he's consistent. He keeps the same energy all the time, so you know where he's going. Lisa Murkowski, when she was asked, she said that she might have to look more into her child pornography, those allegations. And Senator Susan Collins, she said that, she still hasn't decided yet. President Joe Biden has called her 3 times in hope of swaying her to his side. And then when we look at Mitt Romney, he said, quote, he's undecided, but his heart wants to vote for her confirmation.
Yeah. So his heart doesn't matter as much as his actual vote, though,
exactly.
Right?
So we'll see.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, she is going to be confirmed. But, I have a lot of black female lawyer friends that have been commenting on this. And it's really been making them feel depressed and disheartened by the way that this black woman has been treated. Some of the questions, the lines of questioning have not even been anything that pertains to her. And so it makes her seem as if she doesn't know the answers. But in fact, they're asking her questions that are out of her realm of what she would even study for, what she would even know for, what she would ever need to have to know the answers for. And so it's just really been very disappointing to see for a black woman to work so hard in her career and for it to still feel like it's not enough. And so there's been a photo that's been circulating around the internet of her daughter looking at her. And I just want to point that out. I wish we had the photo to show it is so beautiful, a black woman just looking up to her mother. And at the end of the day, if she wasn't going to get confirmed, I'm sure that her daughter and her family and her husband knowing and feeling so positive and feeling so proud of her, that means the world to her, even if she didn't get this nomination.
Well, we talked about this yesterday after we did our show, and we said, look, what's the worst scenario could possibly be, right? If Democrats go with her, we know that VP Harris can walk in there and make this happen. At the same time, I feel like the world is watching. This is the opportunity for us to get this right. We're making history here. So I hate the fact that we have to have this pushback and have these people swaying the other way, only because of the Trump base that they're trying to appeal. That's what it is, and I feel like it's going to happen. She'll get pushed through.
Absolutely. Virginia Ginni Thompson, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, might be getting caught up in the probe of the January 6 Capitol riots. The Washington Post is reporting that text messages from Thomas to White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows were a part of the trove of documents turned over to Congress. In the weeks after Joe Biden was declared the winner, Thomas reportedly texted Meadows multiple times, urging him to overturn the election results. She also recently admitted to being at the pro-Trump rally held before protesters stormed the Capitol. Today, Senator Blumenthal said Justice Thomas should voluntarily testify before the January 6th committee to resolve any questions about his wife's texts.
Former President Donald Trump has filed a federal lawsuit against Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee. The former president accuses them of allegedly conspiring to vilify the then Republican presidential candidate and cripple his campaign. The lawsuit alleges Clinton and the DNC fabricated a link between the Trump campaign and Russia, which triggered an unfounded federal investigation and a media frenzy. According to the lawsuit, when those reports were proven false, allies of the Clinton campaign hacked Trump Tower, Trump's private apartment, and the White House to manipulate data showing a back channel.
President Biden wants to run it back with Donald Trump. President Biden says he'd be fortunate to have a rematch against the former president in 2024. During a press conference yesterday in NATO headquarters, Biden was asked about the possibility of the United States' new working relationship with European leaders being dismantled by different presidents. Biden says since his first international meeting, foreign leaders said they were happy to see America back. Former President Trump was a critic of NATO when he was in the White House. He often promoted an American-first foreign policy as he criticized NATO.
Leaders from NATO countries, including President Biden, are meeting in Brussels to discuss what to do next about Russia's deadly invasion into Ukraine. 1 month in now, Biden, he's pledged new sanctions as well as humanitarian aid in response to Russia's continued assault on Ukraine, promising that if Russia uses chemical weapons, NATO will act. Now, he also announced more aid in terms of dollars to Ukraine. Meanwhile, Biden says he's offering refugees, about 100,000 Ukrainians displaced by the war. He's welcoming them with open arms. The U.S. has come under pressure from the international community for not doing enough to help with Europe's refugee crisis. Biden pledged about $1 billion in humanitarian assistance, but many are questioning why the administration can help Ukrainian refugees and ignore the plight of Haitian immigrants who fled the country dealing with the presidential assassination and devastating earthquake at the same time. The U.S. deported thousands of Haitians last year who came to the U.S. over the U.S.-Mexico border. So it's interesting to see how President Biden is succumbing to the pressure here to at least appear like we are doing something for the refugees because of the international optics. And there were concerns, though, that some of the refugees had fled and come to Mexico and were not being allowed in at the border. And so now he's saying, he had already said that we would have open arms for refugees, but him now confirming that that will happen stands in stark comparison, though, to, refugees of other skin tones.
That's been the big conversation, Seth, online, is this going to also cross over when we talk about Haitian refugees that are also trying to make their way across? And so, you said it seems as if he's trying to, we have 3 million people that have left Ukraine. I don't know if 100,000 people is going to be enough people to let in, but I do think that this is a good effort. I don't think that this has been easy for the U.S. or for Biden to cut off all ties. And so I think that this is a good effort. And I think that I just don't know if it's enough people that can actually cross over with 3 million people leaving the Ukraine.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is unveiling new procedures to handle asylum claims to the U.S.-Mexico border. Asylum officers are now allowed to grant or deny claims, an authority previously limited to immigration judges. Until now, officers have only done initial screenings. The hope is to cut down the wait times on asylum cases from years to months. Currently, immigration courts are backlogged with over 1.2 million cases, creating a 2-year wait for most immigrants to receive a decision. News of the policy shift has been met with mixed reviews, with many concerned if the immigrants will get the proper legal counsel under the new expedited timeframe.
there's some good news for Democrats worried about the midterm elections. A new poll of registered voters shows that there's an even split on which party they favor in their congressional districts. Now, a Pew Research Center, it says that 43% of registered voters would pick a Democratic candidate. People favoring Republican candidates were exactly the same percentage. Now, 14% of those polled didn't choose either party. Conventional wisdom says that the party in power usually loses congressional seats. This year, political pundits expect the GOP to take control of at least one of the chambers of Congress.
Hearings on the legalization of marijuana are expected next week on Capitol Hill. The House Rules Committee will hold the hearing starting Monday. The Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act would remove cannabis from the list of controlled substances. It would also get rid of criminal penalties associated with weed. The bill would also impose a federal tax on marijuana sales. That would go to help communities hurt by the war on drugs in 2020. Now, back in 2020, the House voted on a similar bill, but it didn't go far in the Senate because the chamber was controlled by Republicans.
The Supreme Court is siding with a death row inmate in Texas now. John Ramirez, a 37-year-old sentenced to die for the robbery and fatal stabbing of a Corpus Christi store clerk back in 2004, is going to be allowed to have his pastor pray out loud and lay hands on him during his execution. The 8-1 decision rejected Texas state's attorney's argument that an inmate's spiritual advisor could be present in the death chamber, but should not be allowed to touch or speak to the inmate. Ramirez's execution was originally scheduled for this past September and now will be rescheduled again.
And the White House has removed former football great and Senate candidate Herschel Walker from the President's Council on Sports Nutrition as well as Fitness. Now, Dr. Oz has also been removed. Both Republicans were appointed by former President Donald Trump and are running for U.S. Senate. The White House officials say that they were asked to resign because the White House doesn't permit candidates for federal office to serve on boards. Dr. Oz claims he was removed for political reasons.
Meanwhile, a group of Georgia voters are challenging Marjorie Taylor Greene's eligibility to run for re-election. The challenge was filed yesterday with the Georgia Secretary of State's office. The complaint filed by voters in her district claim she's ineligible under the 14th Amendment, alleging that she helped facilitate the riot at the Capitol, disrupting the transfer peaceful power.
Pittsburgh city officials fired 5 cops involved in the death of a black man suspected of stealing a bike. 54-year-old Jim Rogers was tased at least 8 times within 3 minutes last October. Cops were called to the scene for a report of a stolen bike. A police review board report says Rogers begged for help in a squad car for 17 minutes. Rogers died the next day at a local hospital. Police told investigators they tased Rogers because he would not do as they told him. Rogers' family says they want criminal charges filed against the officers. Reading into the story is so disturbing. So we're hearing there's a bike for sale in the front yard. He takes the bike for a spin. He brings it back. At one point, the owner of the bike realizes he just wants to give the bike away, right? So Rogers takes it for a spin, realizes it's not for him, but someone thinks that he steals the bike. Is that a reason to lose your life? You're not walking around with a gun. You're not causing any danger to anyone. This cop shows up, and that's his reaction. And yes, he's understanding and he's questioning why this is even happening to him because he's done nothing wrong. But yet you choose to take this route. We have so many of these stories over and over again, and I pray that months go by, maybe even a year go by, we don't have to report something like this. But here we are again with the same situation.
Yeah, you know, Romeo, this is really sad because the death was ruled an accident. And the 5 officers, or the 8 officers, they were suspended, but 5 of them will be given the option to retire. And if they get the option to retire, which means they get to retain their benefits. And so, you know, we continue, like you said, to see this time and time again. And when will someone actually be held accountable? They said that a grand jury has been convened. And so we'll have to see if they decide to bring any charges against it.
I mean, 5 officers, that was, you know, I'm surprised to see the response because of this. I was born in Pittsburgh. My entire family pretty much still lives in Pittsburgh. And as black as it is, it's never been black favorable or kind to African Americans there. But Pittsburgh does have its first black mayor now. Ed Ginni has been elected and inaugurated. He has taken office as the 61st and first black mayor of Pittsburgh. So I'm hoping that his oversight, being keenly aware of issues that black men face in policing, hoping that that will have a change of environment and a change in accountability as well.
He asked for 13 times for help. He asked 13 times in a matter of, I believe, 17 minutes for help. And so the fact that black people in America right now are dying because we're questioning unjust policing is insane. And it really makes you wonder, what's the point of having a cop? If I'm calling out for a police officer for help and I can die for something that doesn't match up. The way that I die doesn't match up as to why the police came out. And I really understand people who wonder, what is the point of having a cop in the first place?
Well, speaking of policing up north, we go down south now to Mississippi, where a civil rights group says Jackson's police department criminalizes poor drivers who can't afford to pay their tickets, their speeding and parking tickets. The Mississippi Poor People's Campaign says the city's ticket, arrest, and tow program disproportionately impacts poor people. But the city's mayor supports this new program. The program, it sets up checkpoints where drivers must show a valid driver's license as well as their registration and insurance. And people who don't have that documentation, well, they can be arrested. Their cars can even be impounded. Supporters of the program say it's helped get guns off the street. But Jackson, it is 82% black.
The Arizona House passed bills this week targeting transgender youth. The first prohibits gender reassignment surgery for minors. Now, the other bans trans athletes from playing on girls' sports teams. Critics say the latter bill dehumanizes trans youth to address an issue that hasn't been a problem. Idaho's governor has not yet indicated whether the bill will be signed. This as Republican governors from Indiana and Utah vetoed similar legislation just last week.
And state lawmakers in Arizona are also taking action on legislation restricting abortion rights. Lawmakers approved a bill that would ban a woman from getting an abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Democrats universally oppose this measure. Arizona now joins a growing list of Republican-led states to pass aggressive anti-abortion legislation. The governor there is expected to sign the bill.
Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing an $11 billion relief package to help Californians deal with record high gas prices. The plan calls for $400 for each car registered in California, with no one getting more than $800, and it will provide $750 million so public transportation agencies could provide free rides for 3 months. Now, the plan has getting mixed reactions, with some saying it doesn't go far enough to address the issue. Meanwhile, Connecticut became the third state to temporarily suspend its gas tax. It's set to go into effect April 1st to June 30th, saving drivers 25 cents per gallon. We would all love that.